is the current state of the Iron Age.
Yes.
How things are, if they're going well, if they need to grow, if they need to change, how are things going?
Don't answer all at once.
Yeah.
I was trying to let other people talk.
No comment.
No comment from
No
DP.
comment. From the Iron Age Knight himself. All
Otter,
right.
you're
How about we just go bottom to top? Otter. You
That's
cow.
bad.
All right, so we're talking about where we currently are with our Iron Age
Yeah.
projects.
Yeah. State of the Iron Age. Yeah.
State of the Iron Age. So not
Yeah.
just us.
not just us, just in general.
All right. Well, let's see here. Honestly, I've kind of kept a little out of the way, honestly, over the last month or so. I probably the worst person to ask. First things first, but I know I've been looking forward to checking out Herman's latest book, as well as where Rob Rhymes is going with his Barbarians of the Storm books.
Very fun
Those
books.
are the two series I'm looking at the most right now. But there's plenty others, like plenty other authors I haven't even checked out that I'm still trying to get into, honestly.
I have Eric's book. I have a book written by Seabats.
What?
That
Says it right. It says it right on there. Says it right on there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Just her, just
That's
her.
the only name that really matters. Now, but yeah, no, I have a whole freaking. I got like 12 or 13 books recently that came in the mail. I need to make a video about it, but people keep on putting out good stuff. Some people are getting good in-person sales. We're seeing movies come out. More and more music channels are growing and becoming popular. Iron Age is kind of like, it's a term that we use to represent a broader kind of group and topic, but it is interesting to see that like people are still on the grind, and I really appreciate the effort and the success where it is found. I think it's something that's
Not all
worth
serious
celebrating.
now.
Daniel, I'm always of the most serious attitude at all times. Please don't disrespect me again by suggesting otherwise. All right,
So
stop flaming,
Press
Kay.
X to doubt.
what I'll say, right, is the content seems great, right? Iron Age seems good in that way.
You
But,
sound
like,
so convincing, Bats. Do it. Say it again.
Sorry.
Hey,
Anyways,
English is not his
like-
first language. Help me out here. He's a
But
dolphin
it's
trying to talk.
like Otter with a lot of people, right? It just feels like right now it's just there's so much gay fucking drama that like we just don't want to get mixed in this, like not just drama,
No drama
really
in the Iron Age.
specifically gay drama, and you just don't want to get tied into it.
There's
And-
always going to be drama out there. Like, my whole thing is like, if I see an indie book I like, I'm going to spend money on it. I'm going to support you. If I like what you're saying, chances are I'm going to check out whatever book you have to sell. If it's a comic, an album, whatever.
Based. Very good. Very good. Well timed.
It's really as simple as that. The drama, I couldn't fucking care. If your whole thing is drama, chances are I'm not going to check out what you have to offer. I'm sorry, but that's just how it is.
Same thing here. Yeah, I've had a couple of people, even some I've bought and purchased books from, who were just really, really rude and condescending, demeaning, very bad attitude. I'm like, it's different if you were a celebrity like writer that I had
Speak for
never
yourself,
interacted
John.
with. We're gay, but just no. It's okay. He's a nurse. It's expected.
He likes
Anyway.
his orcs a little too sweaty.
He's like, man, I just want to really see those orcs. Like, take off like even less clothing than before.
That's
All
where
males.
I toss in
all
my,
those male orcs.
This is where I toss in my no comment. Damn right, no
There you
comment
go.
for Macy on the sweaty orcs. So.
Well, especially anymore, I try to avoid any sort of like cult of personality bias in what I end up buying. I want to check
100%,
out the
yeah.
cover art of what you've got. I want to see what the premise is. How is the overall reception to your writing? Is there an idea that is there the impression that you're improving? Are you staying pretty steady, or are you declining?
Are you even
is there
writing
any-
more books? Some
Yeah,
people
are you
just aren't
writing
writing
more
more books.
Do you even write, bro?
To speak on that though, and I feel like that mentality is exactly where we are all at. The problem is we're all creators, and I feel like we have like a different mentality
Not
than
me.
the average.
Yes, you
You
are.
are, but we're different than the average buyer, and that's part of the problem. And I feel look, Comicsgate is part of like Iron. Well, they create stuff in the Iron Age, whether they like it or not, right? But that drama shit is it's really like fucking taking us down a little bit, right?
A little bit.
And it's
As long as it stays in the comic book zone, it's fine. Let them fight.
Mostly has. There are some. I've noticed a lot of people who in this space who are more dramatic are kind of going towards that group of people anyway, because they congregate like a bunch of little maggots when they smell rotten meat.
As
It
far
turns
as
out it's
the
just-
Birds got to shit, man. Let them congregate and shit all over this stuff.
as
And
far
and
as
the metaphor for rotting meat and shit in this case would be the drama. But yeah, continue.
Yeah, as far as drama is concerned, it's not my fight, not my war to fight. I'd rather just make shit, talk about other people.
He'd rather kill clams on an unprecedented scale and write books.
Slamming, clamming. Yeah.
But I like.
That
many
sounds so
people out
dirty,
here,
AC.
I'd like my cake.
He's
and-
out there slamming, clamming,
Slamming,
going to
clamming.
work, boy.
That's what otters do. But anyway, topic. Anyway.
I'd like my cake and to eat it too, right? And by that
I like
is to
cake.
create and have people
Yeah.
actually read it, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the struggles with the book being an author instead of like a comic creator is because it does seem like this like the Iron Age stuff has kind of been really built up for comics and not really on the author stuff, which is
I
lot-
disagree.
well, it's like a lot
disagree.
more of us are writing books, but I mean, like, who are the big people when you think Iron Age? You think Eric July and EVS, and even Razorfist, right?
I don't
Ra-
think Iron Age when I think of those two.
Razor
you don't
Fist
think
and
they're
Shad
strong?
are two big Iron Age kind of book people.
Well, definitely Razorfist, right?
I'd
Yeah.
say
I mean,
Razor.
obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Razor
Yeah.
Fist definitely, but Eric does his own thing. I don't lump him in with anything. And EVS
He's kind of
is an idiot,
anti-comics
so I
gate.
don't think about him at all, really.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's not worth. He's a great artist who's not worth. It's like Mark Hamill. I like your movies, but then I hear you speak, and I suddenly lose all interest. Moving
It's
on.
just more like big indie creators, right?
Yeah.
yes,
that-
indie creators, absolutely.
Right.
But
That's kinda where I'm
EVS
getting.
vocally came out against the concept of the Iron Age way
Yeah, but he can
back.
do that all he wants, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's the
Well,
thing.
here's the thing about all of that. It's because I sort of see a lot of like there's a lot of passion going through both Iron Age and Comicsgate.
Mm.
A lot of the drama surrounding that is specifically with mostly like Eric July and EVS. It's between them two and like a lot of the like hardcore fans around them. I've met a lot of people on both sides where they're just looking to create good content.
True.
So, yeah.
And we should specify that there's two different concepts of the Iron Age when we say the term the Iron Age. There's like our little niche growing friend group over here, but then there's also the wider concept of it, which I kind of define as like a mass decentralization of media in general, which encompasses comics, normal prose, traditional novels, movies, animation. Hopefully, eventually, that would be cool. Stuff
like
like that.
non-
Well, like we've already seen that like a little bit for the Rippaverse just in their trailers, but like I appreciate it. Like you need some big people out there to push the envelope a little bit, and so I love to see it. Like we've seen like Chris R. Hicks. You and I have talked to him. He's a cool guy.
Yes.
He does short films, and he's been pretty successful that way. And we
Yeah.
have Jared Chrisman making his
Right.
like he's made his Western. It's out there.
Still
I need
put
to
out
see it still.
as well, short movie.
Yep. Yeah.
I can name it's like a fairy, tooth fairy horror thing. It's pretty good.
Oh, that's
That sounds
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. No, I remember that. Yeah.
It
So
sounds
And
it's
awesome.
very dark, yeah.
That's something else too. Like some of my not complaints, but wishes that things I wanted to see more in the Iron Age space, maybe 6 months to a year ago. I've seen some of those things that I've talked about start taking place more commonly. I said a lot of people who look for things with the tag Iron Age or kind of are in that sphere, customers and people who create, a lot of them are men. A lot of men listen to audiobooks more than women do. Why aren't there more Iron Age audiobooks? And now we're seeing a lot more of them. DPR has one. McCoppin has one. Otter, you don't have one. Get right. No. But no, my point is I'm seeing a lot more of that. I've seen a lot
Needs
more
to save
audiobooks.
up more clams.
More
Fair.
clams.
I'll do it for you. I'll take a portion of your daily clam execution.
Toss a clam my way,
How
brother.
about no?
Don't tell him to toss me some clam. He might make something else out of that. Anyway,
Hopefully.
I want Moose Matson to read.
give it to. I like it salty. and raw.
What'd you say, Wade? What'd you say, Wade?
Yeah, I'm looking for Moose Matson to read my book for an audiobook. I think that'd be great. I put in for,
What else has he done? What else has he done?
oh god, I'm blanking. He does the magazine. He reads them all. Oh,
You're on the spot. Hurry.
yeah.
Thanks.
It's all good.
Pressure.
Yeah, one of the sword and sorcery mags that
Oh, okay.
I'm hitting myself over the head. Hope he's not seeing this. Sorry,
Nah.
sorry, miss.
It's okay, man. It's okay. We all have
It's hard to
our
keep it all
little
straight,
brain
yeah.
farts.
Great voice. People should check him out. And yeah. I put in for a grant to see if I can get one. I'll probably know in a few weeks if I get it. And then yeah, I'd like to go forward with a book with him.
Yeah. But it's like, so
Herman, how dare you? Anyway, moving on.
with books and like, well, to speak Eric July did get a lot of people to start reading comic books
Again.
again, right? And it's like, man, I really want to see something like that with books. And like, I don't know if you remember years ago, like PewDiePie, like when he started like talking about the books he was reading, he kind of started a whole thing, got a bunch of people like reading when he did his book club. So it's like, man, we just need, like, I really want like an Eric July level person, like, you know, subscriber type influence that's like doing more book stuff, book oriented stuff, as you know, being an author, not a comic book creator.
And you also have people like on BookTube and that kind of sphere of people starting
It's
to
just
pay more
all
attention to
DEI
indie books.
bullshit, though.
Not all of it. A lot of it is that, but BookTube isn't what it used to be either. It used to be a little bit more balanced, but now there's some really large cliques, mostly drama centric female.
I thought
people.
I thought it was funny. I used to listen to a lot of BookTube when I was doing research while writing my novel. I want to check out what some other authors are doing and saying and stuff like that. And I was working 12-hour long shifts. I had time to do it. Anyway, the only male one that I could find is this dude, Brandon McNulty. Shout out to Brandon McNulty. Go subscribe to him on YouTube. He's one of the
He's a
male-
Sanderson.
No,
train.
subscribe to the Iron Seeds. We'll cover it.
Subscribe to the Iron Seeds too. But yeah, Brandon McNulty, man, he was. I thought it was strange how it was like quite literally like 20 different female channels, kind of all doing and saying the same thing, and then one Brandon McNulty over here, kind of floating on his own raft in the Iron Seas, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Also, Daniel Green before he was more political.
Well,
and
yes,
Mike's
we know
book
Daniel
reviews is really good too.
It's hard to
But
find, John. It's the problem. It's hard to find.
Yeah, no, they exist. Even like I celebrated the 3,000 subscriber show with Shelf Centered. He's a based booktuber and he talks about a whole bunch of books and really, really cool guy. He's kind of in this up and coming group of kind of male centric booktubers. Less drama, more focus on the books and the story and what we all love, man. It's a great thing. Why do Raw?
Nope, don't go there.
Yeah, don't get
Yes.
tricked.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
that's why I pulled it off right away.
Do it.
Sorry, I'm a little lit. Squirrel.
I think there's a good point in here though about books and comics and all of like trying to find the next group or the next person that's going to elevate traditional novels or novellas and all that, because I read comics growing up, 12, 13, 14, and then I tapped out. I forgot about them, and to a point that Mike Barron often makes in the interviews he does, he says, these young kids, they find video games and they forget about comics. They don't care. even movies. It's like video game, man. You're in it. It's like being in a movie. Especially, I remember playing Metal Gear Solid. It's like you're in that, and that was my escape for the longest time. And now, 25 years later, whatever it's been, I'm coming back to it, and part of that is by and large to the excitement around the Rippaverse. It's not just a book, because people have criticisms of the books that they're putting out. It's this like energy, man. It's like this whole, you can feel the movement of all the people involved with it and everything that's coming out of it. There's an energy there that kind of sucks you in.
I can speak on that after you're done.
Yeah, even if it's not the best comic you've ever read in your life, ever, bar none, it's this thing, man. It's going and it's exciting and it's fun. And maybe you like this book a little bit better or you like it a lot better, but you can't ignore the party that's happening right over here. And to me, coming into this, I see that happening and I'm like, whoa. And I started getting the comics. I'm reading a lot of smaller creators as well. And I'm starting to learn for the first time, really, how to read comics. And I feel like there's, to your point, there's going to be somebody that's going to pop up, or a movement or a group or whoever it is that brings in that energy
The Iron
on a
Seas.
smaller scale. Yeah, like a more Iron Age vibe. Because of course you have your bigger booktubers and this and that. But there's going to be that indie group or that indie vibe that coalesce around one creator or a crew where it's got that same energy. I feel like it's just a matter of time before that happens, because it's like it was the Fosbury flop, is a weird reference, but where the first guy to run a mile in, 5 minutes, they're like, it can't be done, there's no way. And then one guy does it and everyone else sees that can happen. Then all of a sudden all these other creators see that and then they can do it too. And I feel like it's like things are in place for a lot more to happen, and people just got to kind of stay on the path and keep working at it and watching what's happening. But I feel like there's gonna be somebody that's gonna rise to the occasion.
Well, it's also about finding the audience. There is an audience for these kind of stories. I know a lot, especially back like I was really involved in beta reading and like book development maybe 5 or 6 years ago, back when I was writing a lot. And there's a lot of people wanting more books like what you guys are producing. It's about finding them and connecting with them in some form or fashion as a customer base. It's not easy to do because a lot of those kind of people aren't always perpetually online or in the same kind of spaces maybe where we look. It's a tricky thing. Yep, Kindles and Kicks, Bearded Book Beast. Yeah, I've heard of a whole bunch of these guys. Mike's Book Review. Yeah, no, it's great.
No, I think the big weakness of the Iron Age is the marketing and just finding the people to read, because there's millions of them out there. Just have to reach them somehow.
There's no infrastructure right now, and I think that's what that's what Evely was saying, is that energy of people all gravitating around a charismatic leader in order to cause the tide to rise, essentially. And to my point I was going to bring up earlier is kind of around that whole idea, that essentially it's like a culture. I lost my train of thought. Let me regather it, though. You continue.
Marketing is the hard part. Very few of us come in as marketers or creators, and we're not thinking like businessmen. And that infrastructure, as you say, the old mainstream media, the traditional publications, they have the whole industry of marketing to get out there. But we don't, and we're building it slowly. And
Well, Eric, isn't that part of like kind of we're in this indie and Iron Age specific space is because we've been rejected by the current market? Not even the market, the people who the mainstream that produces for the market. Like right now, that people would rather be buying Fourth Wing. That's what they believe, and in some part is true. There is an audience for that. There generally are more, at this time in history, there are more women who read than men. And so if you want, like, let's combine women's general reading interest and fantasy. And then you get books that are more romance and smut-centric than world-building and war-centric.
In many ways, it's a feedback loop because, more women are reading. So there's more women editors, there's more women writers, and it just goes, And a lot of guys have given up on reading because, I don't know who was saying earlier, you get books in high school and they're, you have to read them and you don't really want to. And it just drops off.
So Bob lent me his train, and I remembered what I was gonna say. People gravitating around the leader that I mentioned earlier. It's like an island in the middle of like rough seas, right? And everybody's kind of holding on, and and it all comes around this idea of somebody providing basically evidence that, hey, this is possible, and showing the path to success in some way, shape, or form. Daniel P. Riley here is fantastic at this as well, and I suspect it's why Eric July helped fund the first Jisadai, because he sees a kindred spirit, and I see a kindred spirit as well. And I think it's part of what we all see in each other, actually, is we see a bunch of different paths that people are taking and trying. It's almost like the Oregon Trail back in the day, the great move out west, pioneering, wild, wild west, whatever you want to call it, manifest destiny, whatever it is. We can all sense that in each other. And I think people like Eric that are just undeniable successes, that's one thing that they can show people, even if you don't like people like that. Like, I think that's why people gravitate around EVS as well, even though he has his businessman-like persona, or, and with like copywriting, Comicsgate, for example. But I have to say, I have actually received a warm welcome from the dudes over at Comicsgate. There has been some tough questions, but for overall, I feel like it's been all in good faith criticism, actually. And I also see all the drama that we were talking about earlier, though, too. So it's like, I think that just comes with people, right? And our niche group of people in the Iron Age over here in our corner, we just are drama free.
Well, yeah, but Ray's brought something good up as well, and even Razor Fist did in some of his original videos about it. And that is, you need more than just creators. I'm a YouTube guy. I'm not really a creator in the same way most of you are. So that's part of why I make such a variety of content. I want to reach a very large demographic of people, partially because I have wide interests, but also because I want to be able to reach different groups. I feel like I've been around enough people in my life. I can connect with a lot of different people on a lot of different things. If I could share some of this with them through those kind of interactions, I think that'd be a fantastic thing. Like, I've given away some of the Iron Age books I've read to friends and family, and a lot of them have really liked it. Problem is, I've given away some of my physical books, and then I want to read it again. I have to go buy it again. So, but yeah, no, there is a market for it, and it's just about expanding our audience however we like. And honestly, I think part of it is that some of the people who would enjoy these kind of stories are not the younger people in some sense, or at least the perpetually online younger people, which seems to be the main target demographic of most modern products. And so, yeah, no, it's an interesting problem to try to tackle. I'm curious what you guys kind of think. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about branding and what we kind of do for that. Otter, you're pretty good at that kind of thing. Tell us some of the things you've learned about having an online presence in branding. And John, I know you're in the chat. You can mention this too. You have a pretty decent following on Twitter and such. So, yeah.
Well, I wouldn't exactly say I have the largest following on Twitter or anything, but for me, it's about creating for lack of a better term, a persona around you. And it's about it's primarily about what kinds of interest you're stirring along with promoting yourself, because it's not just about what you're putting out there. It's about how you're selling yourself, because that's going to give people a good idea of what kind of creations you're going to be putting out there better than anything else. Like, just as much as I said, like, try not to follow like cult of personality bias. Personality is a good way to get a feel for somebody's writing. So for me, it's a matter of that. And like I said before, I try to stay out of drama. I think drama is kind of like the antithesis to creativity. I think it's more destructive than actually helpful in the long run. So at least in my case, Twitter is filled with doom posts. So I try to keep it somewhat positive, because the Iron Age, a lot of indie creations, it feels like we're all small creators trying to help each other out. So, like, the type of content you are talking about, you're basically creating a magnet for the kind of people you're going to be surrounding yourself by. So the more kind of like positive energy and vibes you're going to be giving, that's going to be the kind of people that are being associated with you. So it's like, that's why I say try to avoid drama as much as you can, because you're going to be getting a lot of that sort of like negative hypocrisy, where if you trip up, and you see this a lot with like even in the left and certain indie creator spaces, if you trip up, and inevitably you will somewhere down the line.
They'll never let you live it down.
Yep.
And
I just
let
wish
you
the
live it
drama
down.
was the least bit interesting. That's my problem with it.
we need to overcome. We need to overcome the drama. You know, by somebody like part of what I was getting to earlier is like Eric showing by being undeniable. You know what I mean? He can show how much money he's made. That's the simplest thing to point to. But he can keep going, and he's done that.
He's also stepped back from the childish infighting that some people were trying to throw it. He ignores it as much as he physically can.
Right, and that's
the
showing
the money thing is essential for trying to sell to dumb people that own big companies, so you can get distribution going on. Because all they react to is quantifying. They like to see large numbers. You can show them large numbers, they'll react to it. So
even for your average consumer, it works the same way in the dating world and works the same way in sales. It's like, oh, all of these people bought. Like, if you go on Amazon, even at like you look at the reviews, but you also look at how many reviews there are.
Yeah.
Oh, 10,000 people bought this month, and most of the reviews are on average pretty good. I'd trust that more than the barely reviewed like 5-star perfect rating product.
Well, I also think it's something you're building out over time. I've seen a few accounts talking about this, and I completely agree with them. Rome wasn't built in a day. A lot of your lasting reputation is going to be made over the course of years, likely not months. So in the long run, it's going to come down to how you're interacting with your fan base and what kind of stories you're putting out there. Because if you're steadily improving and you're appreciating your fans, then you're going to get a lot of goodwill around you. Like, don't be exploitative. Like, just be honest and respectful, and like show your intentions, telegraph what you're going to do, try and learn from your mistakes, recognize what you're good at and what you're not so good at.
Yeah, like even like I made a set of rules for myself a long time ago about how I wanted to interact with people on the internet. And outside of your occasional exception, I have kept to those rules pretty substantially. But part of it is I'm not a very despite my background and how I act on stream, I'm not a very confrontational person. And for me, I don't see any benefit of it. Even if it's someone I just despise, like my rule is kind of like what my grandma and Bambi taught me growing up, is like, if you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. If I have a big problem with someone, I just block them, ignore them, and move on with my life. And I think that's maybe the best way.
I don't know. Sometimes I need to call somebody a douchebag when they're acting like a douchebag. But
no, that's fair. That's fair.
It's just like it's going to yank at me forever until I do it. You know.
Well,
that's your personality and temperament. I'm not like that, so that's.
No, I know.
It slips out with me as well sometimes. I think to a certain degree, especially on social media, it's how the site, how those platforms are engineered. Stuff like that is going to be inevitable. But I think there is a certain amount of like, what's the ratio of what's the balance between you trying to actually like promote your own stuff, promote others, versus just you creating clout with everyone? I think that does make a difference in the long run.
Well, you don't want to be negative Nancy all the time, even if you're right online.
Right.
Or in person. Yeah. It's like, imagine, like, we've all had that friend who's just fucking negative all the time. How long were you friends with that person? For me, not very long, except for that one family member. But anyway,
I do think there's a certain merit to being critical about something and having a point. I think that's why a lot of negative personalities are being followed. The thing is, they're not going to be right all the time. And as soon as that mistake is made, it turns on them.
Yeah, and then they like search for that high to keep being like keep pointing out the flaws and keep being like, I don't know. It's just like they're winning points or something, or that they can point out every single little flaw to the point where you're just like, am I supposed to care about this flaw? Like, really? You know?
Yeah, what matters is
arm's
the
a
good
little
story. Like, what are you in it for, right? Was it a fun, good
Yeah.
story? You know?
Yeah.
Oh,
Guys,
but-
hold on. How do you spell porpoise? Am I retarded? Every time I try to
Yeah.
write out porpoise, it says it wrong. It says it's wrong.
And both
What am I
of you-
doing?
But I don't know. I think we conquered that topic pretty well. I mean, that's one of
Well,
those ones we can always revisit. And
I got one more thought on it, which is kind of the cherry on top of my whole point. Is like what we need is some more people. What Eric does good is he forges a community. He's saying, look how I did it. You can potentially do it too. Is kind of the vibe and the energy that Justin was talking about. So everybody gets excited, especially creators. And if we can see the rise of somebody like a Sanderson in specifically the writing side of the community, we can get that
$46 million Kickstarter for books that weren't even described.
But they're an author. But they're an author. Maybe from the Iron Age, maybe not. But maybe they're just super pro indie and decentralization or something. And the Iron Age, quote unquote, can identify with it. You know, it's just something that anybody can identify with. That's what we need, because like the infighting between the like Iron Age and the Comicsgate is like just kind of people who don't vibe with the energy, right? So what we need is a greater idea from somebody that everybody can vibe with. Like I was saying, the tide rises. Just that fortress in the middle of the ocean getting higher and stronger. You know, as everybody kind of comes and chips into building it. It's like the community. You know, you need somebody to be a beacon, to like that lighthouse. You know what I mean? Just leading.
With enough support, enough time, enough purpose, enough energy, it can happen. Look at someone like Razor Fist. Imagine if he wasn't shot down by the algorithm that YouTube possesses at all. He'd have 2 to 4 million subscribers easy, in my opinion. He's finally starting to get the recognition I feel he's probably earned over the years. But look how long it's taken him. I think we're going to see more and more of that as time goes on. People who have something good to offer, and it's going to gather more strength and momentum as time goes on. Just got to keep at it, man.
I think a lot of there's big personalities in the Iron Age and indie movements right now that are helping to lead the way, but at the same time, I think that's going to evolve over time. We're already seeing it right now with YouTube channels like this. The more influence behind us talking right now, the more conversation that's spurred, that's going to start affecting opinions too. That said, I'm trying not to look at all of this as a group, because at the end of the day, we're all individuals. We're all doing our own separate things.
It's
decentralization. We are one.
Yeah, decentralization. You know what I mean? It's not. There's no like leader. It's decentralization. That's what we're going through right now. Like with the rise of AI, there's a bunch of factors. But yeah, I agree.
Also, real quick, anyone who's here, if you guys, I invited everybody on, but don't feel obligated to stay the entire show. If you have other stuff you need to be doing, it's completely fine. Brian, how dare you? He's like, oh, good, I'm out. I never wanted to be here. So.
The last thing I'll add is just like I said, it's gonna be a long time, and when we're the ones actually participating in this, it's almost like dreading a little bit, because time moves so slow. It's hard to see things in the big picture. But I bring this up because I just think it's important to talk about, right? I think it's important to like just kind of self-reflect, you know, if you think you're taking part of this, right? And you know, keep the conversation alive and you know, self-reflect essentially, right?
I think there's a more than good chance a personality like a Razor Fist goes from doing Iron Age attacks to saying, we have an Iron Age storefront now. We have an Iron Age something, some kind of hub that draws.
Shout out.
And there's some sort of process to be who can be a part of it. Not, you know, like in terms of, is your book an equality? Something along those lines to make sure it's not just everybody and anybody coming in. But yeah. I think it is going to be, to me, he's the guy that makes the most sense. He's the one that, you know, not coined, but kind of pushed the term out there. And he obviously is paying attention to how things are developing with his channel that he's doing. And obviously he's a busy guy, but he's kind of doing it himself. And hell, why not him? I think one day he'll wake up and say that exact same thing. And at that point, it'll be figuring out, okay, I'm a charismatic personality that has a huge following. How do I create a place that is fun to come and hang out? And we also bring in interesting books and creators and whatever else and do interesting shows, and it becomes this thing. It's not just him making books and doing his channel, but it's something bigger than that.
One of the shows I appeared on my promotional tour for my graphic novel campaign was Critical Blast. I found out after the fact that the guy is a printer. He prints for a lot of people. He prints for a lot of people in the in Comicsgate, and I think he mentioned something about having like a website with all the comics that he prints for in one place. So right there's some good marketing idea, right? And kind of what you're talking about, like. Also, shout outs to Rip Ascend for kind of like doing the same idea. Like this is kind of where we need to start bleeding into, is like these other categories like audiobooks, marketing, printing. Like print, I know Amazon does a lot, but they also only do so much, and you also only have so much control over it or whatever. The world is drifting towards decentralization, so anything that can kind of help that along and generate a new culture along with it, because that's what people are going to be looking for after the fact, you know.
You just watched a clip from the Iron Seas podcast. Make sure to like this, subscribe. It helps us out a little bit. And please catch the show live at 9:30 Eastern every Tuesday.